Last fall, I booked a cheap cabin out in the woods for a long weekend. I lived downtown in the city and really needed some quiet time surrounded by the fall colors and crisp air. The campground wasn't fancy at all, just a handful of tiny cabins scattered through the trees for $10 a night. Mine was basically one room with a bed and a little wood stove. The first day I spent hiking the trails around the area and just enjoying the peace. It was exactly what I needed to clear my head. The leaves were turning amazing shades of orange and red, and the forest floor was covered in them, making that satisfying crunch underfoot. The second day, I decided to just relax. I dragged an old lawn chair from the cabin porch out back into a small clearing behind the trees. The sun was out and the air was cool but not cold, perfect for sitting still. I must have been out there for hours, just listening to the wind rustle the leaves and watching the sunlight filter through the branches. It was incredibly peaceful, almost meditative, until I noticed something out of place. Far off in the woods, maybe 150 yards away, there was a figure standing between the trees, just standing there, completely still. I squinted, trying to make out any details, but the distance and the shadows made it impossible. It looked like a man, just standing there facing my direction. I couldn't tell for sure if he was looking at me, but it felt like it. The longer I stared, the more unnerved I got. Why was he just standing there, motionless in the middle of nowhere? After a few minutes of this creepy standoff, I couldn't take it anymore. I got up, folded the chair, and went back inside, locking the cabin door behind me. The rest of the daylight hours I spent inside, feeling a little silly but still unsettled. As the sun went down, the wind picked up dramatically. It started howling around the corners of the cabin, whistling through gaps in the old window frames. That high-pitched rushing sound was constant and loud. I lit the wood stove, trying to create some cozy atmosphere, but the noise outside made it hard to relax. Knowing how loud it was, I realized I wouldn't be able to hear anything else over it, like footsteps on the dry leaves or someone approaching. The memory of that figure watching me just wouldn't leave my head. I sat in the worn armchair near the stove, trying to read, but mostly just staring at the flames, trying to calm my nerves. It had been quiet for over an hour, just the relentless wind, when suddenly there was a loud knock on the front door. I jumped out of the chair, my heart slamming against my ribs. It was completely dark out now, probably close to 9 p.m. Who the hell would be knocking on my cabin door way out here in the woods? I froze, not making a sound. Maybe they'd think no one was home and leave. But a few seconds later, the knock came again, harder this time. It echoed through the small cabin. I stayed silent, my mind racing through possibilities. A lost camper, park ranger, but why so late and why knock like that? The knocking didn't stop. It turned into hard, heavy bangs, like someone hitting the door with a fist over and over. The sound was violent, threatening, like they were trying to break it down. Then, as suddenly as it started, the banging stopped. The only sound was the howling wind again. I stood rooted to the spot, straining to hear anything else over the noise. Had they left? I needed to know. After what felt like an eternity, I crept silently towards the front door, my legs shaky. I leaned forward slowly and looked through the peehole. The small circle of vision showed nothing but darkness and the trees swaying wildly in the wind. No one was there. A wave of shaky relief washed over me. I backed away from the door, letting out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I needed my phone to call someone. Park security, maybe the police. I turned towards the small table where I'd left it charging near the back window. That's when I saw it. A face pressed against the glass outside. A pair of wide, unblinking eyes staring directly into mine from only inches away, framed by the darkness outside the window. The second our eyes met, the face jerked away, vanishing into the blackness outside. Pure terror shot through me. I scrambled backwards, almost tripping over the chair. The wind continued its eerie howl, masking any sound of retreat. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst. I didn't know if he was still out there circling the cabin, waiting, or if he was gone. but those eyes staring in froze me to the core. I lunged for my phone on the table, my hands trembling so badly I could barely unlock it. I dialed 911, my voice shaking as I explained where I was and what happened. A woman alone in a cabin, someone trying to break in, someone watching me through the window. The operator told me to stay on the line and stay inside. Officers were on their way, but I knew how remote this place was. It would take them time. I crouched low behind the bed, keeping my eyes darting between the front door and that back window. Every creak of the cabin in the wind, every groan of the old wood made me flinch. I strained to hear anything beyond the wind. Footsteps, voices, but there was nothing, just that endless howling. It felt like hours passed, though it was probably only 20 minutes. Then, I heard it. A soft scraping sound near the back wall where the window was. It sounded like fingernails or something metal lightly dragging along the outside wood siding. My breath caught in my throat. I pressed myself lower behind the bed. The scraping stopped. Silence again, except for the wind. Then it started again. Closer to the window this time. I couldn't stay here. If he broke that window, he'd be inside in seconds. I looked towards the front door. Was he still out there, too? I had my car keys in my pocket. My car was parked maybe 30 yards away across the small dirt clearing near the main path. It felt like a mile away with him out there, but staying felt even more dangerous. I took a deep breath, gripped my keys tight, and made a decision. I had to run for it. I bolted up from behind the bed and sprinted for the door, fumbling with the lock. I yanked the door open and burst out into the windy darkness. I didn't look back. I just ran straight for my car, head down. I could hear nothing but the wind and my own panic breathing. As I reached the car, I jammed the key into the lock, threw the door open, and dove inside, slamming it shut and hitting the lock button immediately. I frantically started the engine. As the headlights blazed on, they cut through the darkness, illuminating the space right in front of my cabin and the trees behind. I saw him instantly. He was standing just off to the side of the cabin path, maybe 20 feet from where I'd just run. Not one man, but two figures, both ragged-looking with wild eyes staring directly into my headlights. They didn't move, just standing there, watching me. I slammed the car into reverse and peeled out, spraying dirt and gravel, spinning the wheel to turn back towards the main campground road. I drove as fast as I dared down the narrow dirt track, my headlights bouncing wildly. I didn't slow down until I reached the main highway miles away. I called the police again from there. They met me later back at the campground entrance. The officers searched the area and my cabin. They found boot prints outside the windows and deep scratches on the back wall siding, but the men were long gone. I never found out what they wanted, why they were out there, or why they targeted my cabin. That was last October, and I haven't been back to the woods since.